name's Joanne Massey. I'm the Director for the Office of Business Diversity and Compliance. I want to welcome everyone to the TSBDC How to Restart a Business After COVID-19 webinar hosted by our office. On behalf of Mayor Jim Strickland, I want to thank you for participating and for allowing our office, along with TSBDC, to help and assist you in this time of crises. The mayor has put forth many resources and services, including this webinar, to assist you. If you have any questions or you need additional assistance, you can always contact our office. My Senior Business Services Coordinator, Taylor Tagg, is on the call, and he'll be with you throughout this session. We are so grateful for Dr. Nonessential Branch to be the facilitator for this session. He'll tell you more about what he will talk about, as well as what he does for TSBDC. But you can definitely contact Taylor, and I'll give you that phone number, and Taylor will put it in the chat. But it's 901-636-9300. Or you can contact him by email, and again, he'll put that information in chat. Again, thank you all for being here, and please let us know if there's anything we could do for you further.
All right.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Branch. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Massey. Okay, so I'm glad that everyone's on this call. I see a lot of familiar faces, a lot of familiar names, but I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Nonessential Branch. And this is how to start a business after COVID-19. Let me give you a little bit of background. We have spoke to a large amount of clients over the last couple of months. Some of them have positive things to say, some of them have negative things to say, but all of them are having a little bit of anxiety about how do they restart after COVID-19. That is, how do we get back to normal? How is it that we plan, strategize, and execute our plan to get back to normal? So, as Ms. Massey said, I'm from the Tennessee Small Business Development Center. And before I begin, I would like to tell you a little bit about us. So, who we are? Well, we are, for over 30 years, the Tennessee Small Business Development has empowered small business and entrepreneurs like yourselves. Here's what's unique and different about us and how we think. Most of us think like CEOs. So we're not just exclusively focused on marketing or accounting or finance. What we do is we do that one-on-one consultation where we look at every aspect of your business and try to figure out what's deficient, what are we doing right, and what are we doing wrong? So that's something that we do that's unique and different. Here's a little bit more about how we do it. We do phone consultations right now, one-on-one, they're confidential. We also provide online trainings, which you're attending right now. We have 2 separate locations, one where Ms. Massey's office is, the Entrepreneur Center, and one in Southwest Tennessee Community College at the Maxine Smith campus. We focus on expertise marketing. We do a lot of virtual advising, and we also do a lot of international advising. So in short, for 30 years, we have been empowering the entrepreneur networks and individuals with business ideas, and we are a network of certified professionals, counselors located conveniently here in Memphis, Tennessee. Here are some of the services. Please be advised these services are all free. Here's what we understand about starting a business. The #1 challenge a business has is capital. Without capital, unfortunately, it's just a hobby. So we provide these services free of charge. We do a lot of business planning. We provide professional market research. We host classes with government contracting through the SBA. We talk extensively about exporting. And finally, we help with financial assistance. Please allow me to give you some of this contact information. Online, you can reach us at www.tsbdc.org. And our phone number is 901-385-5085 or 901-526-9300. Okay? All right. So, as I stated, we have received a great deal of feedback. I think in this last couple of months, we have counseled maybe 300 to 400 businesses by ourselves. Everyone has a lot of anxiety about getting started or restarting a business after COVID-19. We have heard some questions such as, what is the PPE equipment that we require? How do we reshape or redesign our business model? How do we forecast in an economy that's uncertain? What are some tools that we can use, of course they're free, to help get us started in this new digital age? So we're going to talk about this at length. We're going to talk about it from the perspective of these are what some of the other clients are doing, as well as we're going to factor in real world research on it. So here's our agenda. Number one, we're going to talk about the art of starting over. Next, we're going to talk about developing new business models. We're going to talk extensively about business planning and finally forecasting. And as I stated, I'm going to give you stick with me, I'm going to give you over 200 different free online business tools that you can access 24/7, 7 days a week. Let's talk about starting over. All right, so when we talk with clients, it goes to something a little bit like this. And they will say, Dr. Branch, I have this business. I want to start and I want things to go back the way that they were. And we kind of smile and we laugh. And I said, well, let me provide you with the data and what's going on. One of the things that we focus in on business owners is that we understand you control the economic landscape of the community. You are the leaders that are in charge of your people and employees, and they take their cues from you. For example, if you're negative and you're having a bad day, they're going to be negative and they're going to have a bad day as well. So I like this quote. It was from the SBA. And it goes to something a little bit like this. It says, SBA business are vital economic engines in every community and state, and they have helped us make the economy strongest in the world. I really like that because I think that sets the precedence and is really relevant for right here in Memphis, Tennessee. When we go in and we examine the numbers and we look at what's going on in Tennessee, what you will see is that small businesses are not only, they not only make the world strong, but they also make Memphis, Tennessee strong. When we go into the numbers and we look at it, we're going to see how you have a global impact. And then as well as locally, what's going on here with Memphis and how you influence employees, politicians, other businesses as well. So we're going to talk deeply. And if you go away with one thing, I want you to go away with the fact that you are the leader in your community. You control the economic landscape, and everyone is going to take their cues from you. So let's talk briefly about all of the industries that were affected by coronavirus. Now, I'm not going to go in and read all this because it would be a little bit too much, but I just want to talk to you about how all of these businesses that were affected affect the ones that are not affected. So I'm just going to go over and summarize this briefly. So of course, we know all the personal appearances businesses. We know about the vaping stores, the retail, the craft and art businesses, the theaters and movies. But I want you to check out this next slide for a second because it's very important that you understand this. Here are the essential businesses: food and drug, health and medicine, transportation and logistics, housing, human charitable services, manufacturing and government, Here's what we have grown to understand over this. A lot of our clients who are essential businesses, even though they were open, they were affected by the non-essential businesses. And I'm going to show you this in a minute, and I'm going to explain to you why. So here on Tennessee.gov, you will see a great chart. The chart illustrates in a diagram and a roadmap. If you are an essential business on this, say for example, if you're food, but you cannot serve the customer by delivery, in a sense, you are shut down. You are deemed essential. Same thing for gyms, same thing for barbershop, and so on and so forth. Remember when I said if you are a essential business, but you were even though you were open, you were directly affected by non-essential businesses. Here's why. Let's dig in deep and let's talk about this from the perspective of how we are related. So based off industry classifications, most of the businesses in the area were deemed non-essential and closed. We estimate that approximately 62% of the businesses were closed. Our clients who are essential, they were affected by COVID-19 because their customer base was closed due to lack of supply or high risk and exposure to the disease. For example, we have a transportation company, several transportation companies, and they often told us they could not deliver their products to, say, restaurants because the restaurants was closed. So this is a direct example of how essential businesses and non-essential businesses are directly related. Here's another great quote, I believe is relevant and pertinent. It states, to succeed despite the challenges, we must plan, solve, recalculate, refocus, reinvent your plan, redirect your plan, and think again. Here's why I like this quote. What it alludes to is that although we have started in these businesses and they have stopped, we never should stop planning, solving, recalculating, refocusing, reinventing a plan, and it should be done on a continuous basis. If you look at the most successful businesses right now, and I'll give you just a snapshot, we'll talk about Amazon. Amazon, the system that they have in place embedded on their website, allows customers to do two things: rate their product as well as give feedback. So they have built an infrastructure where they're constantly and consistently getting feedback from customers over and over again, and then adjusting their business model based off customer feedback. We can learn a lot from this and take from this, and we're going to talk about this a little bit further in the business planning process. So what does this mean? There are many different things that we can do, but essentially what it means is if we continue to do business as usual, it's ultimately going to lead to a dead end. Here's some of the things that the clients that we talk to are doing. Number one, they're changing their business model. That means restructuring their business model altogether. We're going to talk at length on how to do that in detail. Some of our clients stated that they're appealing to new customers. They're looking at new geographic areas. They're looking at how to embed technology. What technology is available? What are new demographics of customers, and how do we reach them? Here is something else that our clients are doing. They're connecting to new vendors. Many of our clients are stating that the vendors that they used in the past are no longer there. And so we thought this is a perfect opportunity to analyze and look at the cost of the products or the cost of goods that they were using and see if we can restructure that a little bit. We'll talk about that a little bit more in depth in our further presentation. So I'll tell you a little story. So before we go on, I'm gonna tell you, I taught at University of Memphis and I taught at Lamorne College, and I love teaching. And one of the things that you'll see in every classroom, every business department, one-on-one, they'll teach you something called a SWOT analysis. And a lot of our clients say, well, Dr. Branch, that's something that we learned in school. And I agree with them. But I think it's also relevant because I think now is the time to do some reflective analysis on our business while things are slow. And I don't necessarily agree that we have to reinvent the wheel. So real quick, SWOT analysis stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This is one of the questions that we often ask clients when they come in for a consultation, because we want to know, do they know if they got a good in detail perspective of where their company stands? So strengths, what do we mean by that? Well, it means what do you do well, or what distinguishes you from your business? If you have a business in an oversaturated market, one of the things that we want to hone on and make sure we understand is what differentiates us from the competition. What do we do well? What's that one thing? And then how can we promote that and market it? Weaknesses. What are the needs, improvements, or processes to avoid? Every business owner or entrepreneur that we talk to that's running a successful business, they'll say, well, gosh, Dr. Branch, if I knew then what I knew now, I would have done this different. I would have went back and did this different. Well, now is the time that we analyze that and not do those same things. Threats. Anything that can affect your company negative outside of your competition. One of the biggest things that's affecting us right now, obviously, is COVID-19, right? So we're talking to a lot of clients that are projecting that they may need PPE equipment going forward. How do we get that PPE equipment for our workers? And then how do we train them differently? We're going to talk a little bit about the halo effect, and then opportunities, openings outside of your companies you can capitalize. We're going to talk a little bit later about how to recognize opportunities and to branch your business out a little bit. So we broke it down into 3 steps, 3 simple steps. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the business model canvas. All the business model canvas is a 1-page visual document, a 1-page visual map for developing a new and existing business model. This is when you get your people, your employees together, and we sit down, and we can do it in the same kind of way that we're doing right now, either through a virtual call, and we ask some serious and definitive questions about where we are as a business. Number 2, the business plan. And by definition, the business plan is written in a description of your business future. I spoke to, I want to say last week, maybe 30 to 40 different clients, and I asked them, are you revamping your business plan? And I get something like this where they say, oh, Dr. Branch, that's something I wrote back in college, or, something I did back then. I think that now's the time to pull it out, dust it off. Let's re-examine it. Let's look at what you were doing then as opposed to what you're doing now, and seeing it's the same things that were happening back then. Are they relevant? Were there any false assumptions? Again, were there any things that you can do differently that you can do now? And finally, financial projections. I was told once a long time ago that this is an art, and I believe that. But I want to say that in my humble experience, doing financial projections is nothing more difficult than addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And if I can do it, anyone can do it. We're going to talk greatly about that coming up. All right, let's talk a little bit about developing a new business model. All right, step 1. Remember when I said this was just a 1-page visual document to see where we are? It's called the Business Model Canvas. I think it's a great tool for us. I think it's a easy thing that you can implement within an hour or 2 with your team. Why do you ask that? Well, here's what it does. It helps us to understand the business model in a straightforward, structured way. It gets us to really analyze what the competition is and how we're different. It gets us to really focus and hone in on what insights about the customer. And as an entrepreneur, you should already have these relationships with your customer. And then finally, profitability. How will your company make money? So let's look at this in detail for a little bit. If we're going from right to left, I know that's a little bit different, but you got to trust me. If we're going from right to left, what you'll see is the number 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. The reason why it's structured because it's like this is because it prioritizes what we need to talk about first. So let's talk about number 1, the customer segment. As I stated, any good entrepreneur or small business will get to know their customers in great detail. The customer segment helps us to understand, are there any potential customers that we're not targeting? Who are these customers? What are the demographics of these customers? What influences them to buy them? And can we duplicate that customer, say, in other markets? It's a really great exercise. I have found that working with clients over the last 10 years, that most clients will tell you if they talk with their customer is energetic and enthusiastic in terms of giving them feedback. Don't believe me? Sell something to them that's not right. They will come and tell you, they will come tell everybody else what you did or did not do. This is great feedback for developing the business model. Okay, so we're gonna go over to the number 2, the value proposition. This one is sometimes can be a very tough one. In summary, what a value proposition is that it is what is your statement that differentiates you from everybody else? What is the value that you bring to your customer? I really like this block because here's why. It gets you to think outside of your mind and from the perspective of your customer. What does your customer value? How does this product or service benefits them? Number 3, revenue stream, very important. Jay-Z once said it, and I can't believe I'm quoting, if you're not making dollars, you're not making cents. What are the different revenue streams that are coming in? And it also gets you to understand, are we leaving any money on the table? Understanding your revenue streams, we can evaluate if things are profitable or if things don't make sense. Number 4, we're going to talk a little bit about different channels. How am I reaching the customer? Am I reaching the customer in the most effective way? My customers, say for example, if you're marketing to customers on Facebook. I'm an old guy, I tend to be on Facebook. Please be advised, millennials do not like Facebook. They like other different means. Are you marketing your product in a direct way? And are you getting your product to your customer in the direct channels? Number 5, we're going to move on. Number 5, customer relationships. Remember earlier, we talked a little bit about the halo effect, and I really wanted to make sure I bring this up to you so you understand. So originally, the halo effect went something like this. It was meant for people that own franchises, but I think it's definitely relevant for those of us who own businesses during COVID-19. Say, for example, if you own, I don't know, a restaurant, and you own this franchise, and something happens with another franchise with the same name, what people will say is, I don't want to patronize that restaurant because there's something wrong with that restaurant, and they won't go to your restaurant, even though you both are 2 separate entities. That's important and relevant right now because everyone is experiencing the halo effect. What we're seeing is, and I won't mention the name, large box stores who are not demonstrating their cleaning and using PPE, people are avoiding those. And they will go to box stores that are demonstrating their cleaning. So I want to make sure that we're aware of that in terms of customer relationship. Moving on, number 6, key activities of the day. What are we doing right now to influence customers to purchase from us? What are we doing? Do we have to change? Do we have to reinvent ourselves? Are these activities that we're doing efficient and are they working? We need to address that. Number 7, what are resources that we have available? As I stated earlier, I'm going to give you over 200 different tools and resources, partner resources that we have through the TSBDC. Most of them are free, and I think now is the time to evaluate them, especially if you're evaluating your business and you plan on doing e-commerce or doing things where you're doing it in a virtual setting. Number 8, what are our key partners? Who are we partnering with? Are we, I'm going to give you guys a heads up that now is not the time to be shy. Now is the time that we need to network with the TSBDC, Small Business Administration, SCORE, City of Memphis. Now is the time to come out and take classes, partner with other businesses, analyze what their business model are, and see if we can collectively together survive this thing. And finally, number 9, the cost structure. How much are things costing us? Again, good small business owners and entrepreneurs are always looking for ways to reduce costs. How can we bring that cost down so we can survive this pandemic? So now I want to move on to a little bit talking about the business planning phase. We talked about this previously, and I want to give you guys some feedback. So most of our clients say, Dr. Branch, I really want to write a business plan. However, I'm intimidated. And what happens is we would give them, this assignment of writing the business plan, but unfortunately it'll take them 6 months, 9 months, even 12 months to come back, and they don't write the business plan. But we've made it simple. On our website, if you go to www.tsbdc.org, at the top right-hand side, you will see a tab that says Click Free Resources. And you can download the plan and step-by-step plan. Here's why I like the plan. Not only is it going to walk you through step-by-step pertinent information, but it's also going to get you to do key ratio analysis, which is important for talking to lenders. It's going to also get you to develop a sound executive summary that's relevant to what lenders are looking for. And then in addition, the final thing that's going to get you to do is to sit down and calculate what your break-even analysis. When we talk to clients, we want them to understand what is your break-even point at some point. Well, let's say, for example, you said, Dr. Branch, I still need help. I still need counseling. I still need that one-on-one attention. No problem, we got you covered. One of our partner resources that I want to make sure that I bring up is LivePlan. LivePlan is a business writing software that's in the cloud. It gets you to think carefully about each point and phase in your business. It will save you a lot of time and money because it has embedded research. It is also verified by us TSBDC. Here's how we validate this. As you're working, and if you're struggling with your business plan, you can also give me access to it, and I can give you feedback 24/7, 7 days a week in a real world setting. This is important because as you're struggling with a section and you complete that section, it will send me a link or a notice saying she is struggling with this or he is struggling with this. Please go in and help them. And I can go in and give you feedback. I think it's also important because not only can you invite me to give you feedback, but you can also invite accountants. Yes, you may have to pay them, but I think it's relevant to have their input in the business plan to help you get it structured. I like this plan a lot because I recommend this because you're writing it yourself. You're getting feedback from the TSBDC. You're getting feedback from accountants. But before you go and talk to a lender, you have the best chance of success by having all of our different input. Does that make sense? Again, this is a free resource that's offered by us, and you can ask for it, and we'll definitely supply you with LivePlan. I think it's worth its weight in gold. Let's move on to financial forecasting a little bit. Now, I want to tell you a story. So I'm a little old guy, and I'm getting old, but back in the day, we had to do financial spreadsheets by hand. Anybody went to school or business school, they know the headache in this And for some of us, I'm gonna be honest, for some of us, we wasn't even that great at accounting. I think it taught us how to dig in deep. But I've searched high and low in Memphis, Tennessee, and I'm proud to say that SCORE has won. SCORE developed this spreadsheet that if you download it from here, they have it color-coded where it tells you specifically what goes here, what goes there. I think it's an amazing tool. I want to make sure I give SCORE credit just in case. If you're from SCORE, raise your hand. I want to say you did an excellent job, and you can download this template for free. All right, so let's get into what these financial projections. So I want to tell you guys another little story. I teach at universities, and that's what business professors do. They always talk about stories. But a lot of my students, they'll say, well, you know, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what financial projections are. You know, how do we predict the future? And if you search on the internet, there are many different sources that talk about many different ways. I mean, people go extensively. The best and the most simplistic way that I have to describe in the easiest way is you just multiply your customer times your product. Keep it as simple as that. But here's how financial projections are relevant, not just for startups, but also existing businesses. So they're important for setting goals. I think that's relevant here in this pandemic, because as we go and we start digging in and talking about forecasting, one of the things that we may have to address is that your original goals in forecasting may no longer be realistic. And I hope that makes sense. So now's the time to go back and adjust and say, okay, what are realistic expectations? We get clients all the time, and every consultant will tell you this, and they'll say, you know, we're going to do 2 million, we're going to do 3 million. And then when you get in deep and you say, well, explain to me how you are going to do 2 million, $3 million, you know, that's when they kind of, you know, get knocked back. Now's the time to dig in deep and say, okay, let's readjust these numbers. Let's look at it based on sound data, and let's also get the TSBDC to help us to develop realistic projections. So on these financial projections, here's what the things we're going to examine. Obviously, your profit and loss or your income statement. That means examining realistic sales forecasts, lowering the expenses. We need to look at your balance sheets, your assets and liabilities. We have had several clients after looking at some assets, they decided that these assets were no longer relevant. And so they wanted to sell it for the perspective of raising money. Looking at liabilities, what loans do we have? Is there an opportunity to refinance those loans at a lower interest rate? Cash flow, is it positive or negative? What months are positive? What months are negative? And then how do we account for that? And then finally, break-even analysis and key ratios, evaluating assets. Inventory, how fast are we turning over the inventory? And how fast can we be profitable? These are all things that we need to go back, re-examine, and focus on. So, remember earlier I stated I was going to give you a bonus, over 200 different tools in addition that you can get from us. SBA has done a really good job. They developed this COVID-19 partner resources. And you can find all of the resources here. Don't worry, if you don't have time to write them down, we can definitely provide you with the link. But I want to just share with you some of the resources that are available that you can take advantage of right now. So we have relationships with Biz Buy Sell, that is a marketplace for buying business. Intuit, QuickBooks, of course. We have Getting to Global. We have Career One Stop, Constant Contact. This is a tool that we can use to constantly communicate and talk with customers and find new customers. We have other partner resources. We talked about Live Plan. We talked about a little bit about the SBA, Small Business Administration. We also have banks, United Midwest Savings Bank, and even Visa. One of the things we want to focus on is making sure that we evaluate our terms. in terms of nothing but how fast do we need to pay back our vendors. 60 days, 90 days, and also our credit. How can we use Visa to maybe get some of the inventory in and put it on a credit card and evaluate that. So these are some of the partner resources that we have available to you. Now, here are some tools. I've recently researched and I found that Entrepreneur Magazine, it's a great magazine. If you haven't looked at it, I would advise to get it. They have an article which they have over 198 free tools to help you through the corona pandemic. I'll give you an example of how this is relevant and how to benefit you. I have a client who has a business that is attached to the school system. She has a contract. Unfortunately, the school system is down. Right now, she has to revamp or change her business model to an online model where she has to teach students. She is using some of these different tools on her to help her. As a result of her using these tools, she is now able, through an online platform, to expand her business into Mississippi, Arkansas, and even as far west as California. This is an example of tools that you could be using that are free. All right, so I've talked to you a little bit. I wanted to make sure that we go into depth and talk about what our next steps are. Here's what I would like for you to do. This is a great exercise. Remember, you set the tone of your company, and I think with proper planning and execution, we can get through this. Number one, I think now is a good time for us to rally our team and discuss where we are and use the business model canvas. Number two, I think now is a great opportunity to dust off that business plan or write the business plan. Number three, I think this is a great opportunity to look at our financial projections and ask some serious questions. Number one, are they realistic? How can we improve on them? Let's look at the income statement. Let's look at the balance sheet, and let's look at how our cash is doing in terms of cash flow analysis. Number four, I think it's a great opportunity to establish partnerships with the TSBDC, with the SBA, with the city of Memphis. And I think it's a great resource to look at and evaluate these tools and to say, how can we implement that in our business going forward, knowing that many of our business has to transform into an e-commerce or a digital marketplace. I think that is essential. I want to thank you all for listening. Some graphics. And at this time, I'll take some questions. All right, I'm a business professor. Don't make me call on you.
This is Taylor as well. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask Dr. Branch directly, or you can type it in the chat box too, and we'll get it to him.
Hi, my name is Cassandra, and I have a banquet hall.
Okay.
And so for me, it's like I don't see where I fit in all of this.
So go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I hear you. I'm listening, and while you're talking, I'm thinking and trying to see how I do fit and how I can, get back in there and listening to you list those partners that we need to, reach out to. I don't know how I fit.
Thank you for asking that question, and thank you for being honest. One of the challenges that entrepreneurs face is that we always feel like we're just, so lonely, right? And we're so excluded, like you said, and we need to branch out and listen and to see what other people are doing. We need to talk to people that can guide us and give us new ideas. And we also need people that we can use as sounding boards and say, hey, Dr. Branch, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So I'm going to give you some examples of some of our clients and how they sort of thought outside the box, okay?
Okay.
All right, and so, and one thing I want to say is that entrepreneurs are really good at thinking outside of the box. You guys are great. You'd be surprised. If I put a bunch of entrepreneurs in the room, they'll build your rocket ship, no problem. So I'm going to give you some examples. So I have one client who is a painter, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's in the same similar situation that you are in, right? He's like, Dr. Branch, how do I take my business and I transform it and make it essential? That's what you're asking me. How do I transform my business model and then make it essential, right? So there are two ways. Number one, I'm going to tell you what he did. He's a painter. He said he just bought an industrial power washer, a cleaner. The same skill set that he has for painting is the same skill set for cleaning walls in the building. Make sense? So that's number one. Take your skill set that you have and then make it essential. Then we have businesses like yours, and this is where you're going to get your money at today. What's your name?
Cassandra.
You're going to get your money today. So you say, Dr. Branch, what do I do now? Well, if you have a hall, one of the things that you have to do, remember we talked about the looking at your customer base and evaluating. Can you partner with businesses that are essential?
I have been thinking about partnering with a nonprofit organization to be a distributor for food in our space, but still there's no money. It's just, having that space as a space to distribute food.
Absolutely. So if the space is empty, essentially what you're saying is not making money. Well, space is space. Can you repurpose it?
To do what?
Can you repurpose it?
For it to be not to be a banquet hall?
We can look at, is the banquet hall something that is needed right now?
It's not needed right now.
Good observation. So how can we use this space with something or an industry that is needed right now?
Well, the only thing I can think of, the only thing I can think of right now, what we need are essential things like food, and so that would be our space to use for that purpose.
Absolutely. And guess what? I have a lot of clients, and they are looking for space to store things.
Okay.
And they're always, as this is a transportation hub, right? I have several clients that are looking for good, honest, and decent people, just a nice, clean space to store things. I'm not saying that we don't circle back and do the banquet, but what you're saying is, Dr. Branch's space is empty. It's just sitting there. I need cash coming in the door. Can we connect to new, different customers? I tell you what, you have my email address, right?
I do.
I would love to talk with you one-on-one. I don't want to share these contacts, and I got to get permission, but let's do this. You sign up as a client, and then we can talk and we can strategize on how can we repurpose that place. Okay. But you asked a great question, and this is the sort of deep thinking that we need to be doing. Okay. We need to struggle. I say it all the time. We need to struggle. We need to wrestle with it. And this is how we're going to get through. Great question. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Any other question? All right. I'm going to tell you what you're going to do. So I know a little something about entrepreneurs. I know how we think. Sometimes we think best late at night. Sometimes we think better in the shower. Sometimes we think better when we're doing gardening. I want you guys to go to TSBDC, and I want you to register as a client. And I want you to schedule a consultation. It's a free consultation. We will talk one-on-one. And if you have questions, shoot me an email and I will respond within 24 hours. Good deal? All right, I'm glad to go. All right, well, I think that's it. I think we've concluded. I thank you all for listening, and I just want to say have a great day and enjoy the rest of your weekend.